Well, on this show, we've been investigating the well-funded, concerted efforts behind many of the anti-American protests on college campuses. As we looked at these violent uprisings actually calling for genocide against Israel, a pattern has emerged. Middle-aged men are organizing them. A couple of weeks ago, we were joined by former terror finance analyst for the U.S. Treasury, Jonathan Schanzer, who laid out what he calls a constellation of extremist groups he's been investigating for more than a decade now. And two groups stand out in particular: American Muslims for Palestine, AMP, which he says funds Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP. Here is Schanzer in November speaking to Congress.
AMP has built a network of activists that are tormenting Jewish and pro-Israel students on college campuses nationwide. Students for Justice in Palestine rallies are not spontaneous expressions of student dissent.
Now, Schanzer says AMP is made up of people who worked for Hamas charities like the Holy Land Foundation that was shut down by the U.S. government. Now, in 2008, the FBI convicted the leaders of the Texas-based Holy Land Foundation for funneling more than $12 million to Hamas under the guise of being a Muslim charity. Now, after being shut down, it appears the Holy Land Foundation simply changed its name to American Muslims for Palestine. The same bad actors with ties to terrorism once again disguised as a 501c3. Now, he told us what he told Congress back in November, that the personnel and infrastructure of AMP looks almost exactly like the Hamas charities that were dismantled more than a decade ago. But now, 7 months after laying out these connections for lawmakers, Congress is finally responding. Last week, the House Oversight Committee announced an investigation into the funding behind these protests and AMP in particular. Jonathan Schanzer is currently serving as the Senior Vice President of Research at the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. He joins us live. Jonathan, good to see you again. So 7 months after your congressional testimony, Congress finally looking into American Muslims for Palestine, AMP, which funds Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP. You were just on this show talking about all the information that you've uncovered, and now here's James Comer sending this letter. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's certainly welcome. I think it is somewhat overdue. We did see a letter written by the Ways and Means Committee shortly after that hearing back in November, but I think this one goes a bit further. It is obviously 7 months late, and you could maybe even argue that it's 10 years late. But it's good to see that lawmakers are interested. They want to learn more. They're asking for more information. They're not jumping to conclusions, I think, either. But they are, I think, finally seeing what many of us have been seeing, which is that there is this overlap between some of these defunct charities and AMP. But I think more importantly, what we're seeing is that some of these individuals are, in fact, on campus. They've been at encampments. They're holding the microphone. They're giving speeches. They're speaking at press conferences. These are not normal occurrences, and these need to be looked at, especially when you consider the disruption that we've seen, at university business across the United States. Some of the violence, some of the destruction of property, the intimidation, the hate speech, all of that, I think, really does beg for a deeper investigation, and it is obviously good to see Congress getting into the act here.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.